Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Alessa Caridi. She's a power posture pro and calls herself your workday health interrupter with one goal, teaching hardworking computer-based professionals how to build fitness into their work days, to have consistently stress-free, pain-free, productive workplace. She is also a certified Pilates instructor and functional fitness public speaker and author. Welcome to the show, Alessa.
Thank you for having me. And only good interruptions, no bad interruptions, the kinds of interruptions that make you more productive.
Absolutely, absolutely. Such interruptions are always welcome in life before life puts a stop on what you are doing, and that is where the good productivity comes in. We'll talk about all that. We'll also talk about your book, Alessa. But before that, let's talk about a bit about your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Yeah, sure. I am a classically trained dancer. I grew up dancing, competing in dance. I am ballet trained originally, tap, jazz, everything else. I went in my undergrad at UCLA, and from there, I've worked in Paris, in Florence, in Japan, in Singapore. And I call that in my previous life because now I'm a mom to 3 kids, and that's a different kind of stress that has me going. And it's really been through the transition that my thought process and the way that my brain body connection and my interaction with the whole world has really shifted and adjusted, and I've been able to kind of figure out my body's needs and translate them into my workplace because of all the different things that I'm balancing. When you're a mom and a woman, and you're managing a household, and you're the cook, and you're the driver, and you're the organizer, and if you have a pet, you have to take care of them. There's all of these things that kind of get to the list of to-dos, including in your workday. And sometimes our health kind of falls down to the bottom. And if you are just sitting at your computer and just doing your work and that's your focus, you still have a massive to-do list. And it's just as easy for the health issue, the health part of your whole being to also fall down that to-do list, because you just want to make it to the end of the day. You want to be able to go out for drinks and dinner with your friends. And sometimes what happens is you're saying, okay, I got like 2 more emails to do, or I just want to finish this one deck, or I have to make sure I hit this deadline by 5 p.m. And so by the end of your day, you're physically feeling like that the pain in the neck and the shoulders and the low back. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, but I still want to go out. So you're mentally drained, you're physically drained, you're in pain, and you've really just been pushing through. And that's where my interruptions come into play, because my goal is to get you to the end of your day, whatever that may look like, but still with enough energy and feeling like you've accomplished everything that you've wanted to accomplish that day, and be able to go and be a human, be interactive with people around you and really enjoy life outside of the obligations of work and what your day throws at you.
Absolutely, absolutely, Alessa. So now let's understand this from this point of view. A lot of people, including me, whenever we have any bit of a problem, either aches or posture, just start blaming the chair. And you talk about that. It's not why your chair isn't the problem and what really is. So let's start from there. Help us understand why chair is not the problem and something else is.
I love that, because that is exactly what happens, but it's never been so succinctly put. And honestly, that one of the things that I say is I don't care where your chair is, but I do want you to be in a dedicated workspace. So whether you're standing or you're sitting, your chair desk tech kind of relationship has to be one of, this is where I work. So that with that out of the way, we're going to stop blaming the chair, because I don't want you to go and spend thousands of dollars on something that's going to prop you up, right? Because then you just become this blob that like sits there all day long. But in fact, what you really need to think about is that you want your workspace to fit your body, not the other way around. We don't want to fit into our workday, because it doesn't matter how close we get to our technology. It doesn't matter how much we feel like, let me just force my way into this. Your technology is never going to love you back, and it's never going to be there to support you physically or emotionally. And the technology is also your chair. So with that being said, you really need to be aware of what your body does and looks and feels like, so that way you can stay productive throughout your workday. And people tend to lean on the, okay, well, I've got a chair, which is fine. Let me get this gadget that I wear on my back that will help me stay upright. Or let me get this watch or this little thing over here that will remind me throughout my day that I need to do X, Y, and Z. And what happens with those accessories, let's call them, they end up in a drawer after a couple of months, and they don't get used, and they're wasted money, wasted effort, wasted thinking about them, because then they start stressing you out. You don't want to wear this thing that's constantly pulling you back all the time. But the one thing that we can't ignore is our body. So should we dive right into my quick 3-step posture check so that we can get going?
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so it's very simple. 3 minutes tops. You can revisit this throughout your day. So if you catch yourself kind of doing this, or you're leaning over and the neck and the shoulder pain starts to kick in, or you're bouncing your knee, or you're twirling your pen, or you chew on a pen, whatever your habit is, when those kinds of motions, the pen twirling, if you're a pen twirler or a knee bouncer, those physical motions are stress affecting you physically. So when you start to acknowledge that and you find that in your day, that's a great way to step back and to do this 3-step posture check. If you're hunched over, the pain that you're feeling is another physical manifestation that we can talk about, the downward stress spiral a little bit afterwards, but that comes from the mental stress of getting your to-do list done. And that's another signal to say, okay, I'm going to step back and I'm going to do this 3-step posture check so I can get back to work. And here we go. We're going to start first step. And if you take one thing away from our conversation today, this is it. So ears on, as I like to say. We're going to look down at your feet, because we're going to establish a brain-body connection, because this is all too often forgotten and it is very important. So we want to look down at our feet, and we're going to make sure that all of the whole foot is pressed to the floor. All 10 toes are pointed forward, and you're not rocking in or out, right? So the whole foot is down on the ground. And the important part to look down here, because what happens when we look down, we may think that our feet are pointed forward, but in all actuality, this might happen, or this might be our natural. But if we look down and establish that all 10 toes are on the floor, our feet are in fact pointed forward, what we're doing is then we're causing our body, this natural chain reaction, to start engaging the muscles going all the way up our legs. And then that way it can pull us up to step number 2. So we want to sit tall on top of our spine. So when you're sitting tall, I don't want you to think, I have to sit tall, so I'm going to stick my chest out or my butt backwards. Instead, what I want you to imagine is that sitting up nice and tall means one strand of hair at the top of your head is getting pulled up to the lights. So the length is coming from the top of your spine, getting taller and longer here. And once you're tall and long, we're going to relax our tension in our head, neck, and shoulders, which is very important, because that's where the majority of people who work at computers, my years of talking to people, this is where their tension is being held. And so when you reach long and relax the shoulders, the last step here is you're just going to shake your head. No, I am not ready for my workday. But yes, I'm going to practice proper posture, and I'm going to power through, and I'm going to be productive. So those are the 3 steps. Feet, which is brain-body connection. Spine, to be as long and releasing tension as possible. And then you're just going to shake your head no and yes, to acknowledge where you are, to acknowledge the space around you, and bring it back to yourself instead of the technology that you're sitting in front of. Easy enough?
Absolutely. So if it is so easy, why are people not able to just do this part? Why do they always have pain complaints, but not this? Not maybe exactly this sort of an exercise, but is it another sort of exercise will be there? Why are they not? Is it because they are too conscious of their environment that others will look and I will look funny within the office itself?
So when I teach these health interruptions like you kicked us off with. My health interruptions include, big arm movements, reaching, a lot of different kinds of movements. And what I found over the years is that's the hurdle that people have to get over. The sitting correctly is not necessarily a hurdle, but when was the last time that you learned to sit correctly? Because the last time someone would, like when I had my 3 kids, I taught them how to sit correctly when they were 6 months old. But people, as they get older, no one says, oh, let's check on if you know how to sit correctly, right? So nobody says that. And they go through life thinking that their unevenness, right? Like if I was going to sit here and talk to you like this, my whole body on my right side is being stretched out because I'm leaning one way. And then my left side, the muscles in my left side of my body are getting crunched up. And then if you sit with one leg crossed over the other, the same thing happens. One side of your body is being stretched, the other one's being crunched. And it doesn't really do something, if you're out to dinner with friends and you're eating and you sit there and you eat, which is, bad manners to have your elbow on the table in a lot of cultures. So like you don't want to be doing that, but it's also creating that imbalance. And so we think those little things, like when you're eating dinner or if you're sitting on your couch doing the Netflix and binge thing and you're laying on one side, those don't come into real play. But when you're sitting at your computer for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and this is how you get work done, right? And then you type a little bit and you're doing this, your body doesn't know how to be unbalanced for that long. And it shouldn't, because you have, at least the majority of humans, right, barring any kind of health implications that are, genetic, the majority of humans have the same muscles on either side of their body. They're being supportive. And when we don't use things in the correct way and things get stretched out and other things get crunched together, that becomes the normal. So when we leave that position, those muscles are still crunched up in certain ways. And if we don't even our body out, we're not engaging the correct muscles. The wrong muscles are becoming strong and tense and working against us. And the incorrect muscles are getting really loose and saggy. There's a really funny workplace phrase that people like to use, which is called sleeping butt syndrome, which actually comes from sitting too long. So your butt muscles don't get worked. And that has physical ramifications too, that goes along with that. And so the reason that we're having these kind of issues isn't necessarily because we're having, the inability to move around, which is one of the things that I teach in my health, but because people don't actually know what is correct. And I know that sounds so silly, but it's what happens over time. Our bodies just get used to, this is my natural position, this hunched over when you're sitting in front of you're typing away on your computer. And then when you go to stand back up again, the actual correct posture hurts. So our body doesn't want to do that. But when we're in this position, everything all the way down our spine ends up being in pain, and that's just wrong. So there is also a learning curve to it. Learning to sit correctly with the complete balance in our bodies is going to be a little bit of a workout. As silly as that sounds, because we're working out our muscles, but after a while, you'll start to realize that the tension goes away, the shoulders are down the back, and I'm not here to say you have to sit like this all day long. You can cross your legs, you can lean a little bit, because we don't want to become statues in the other direction, but we do want to be able to acknowledge those stress points. So when we do have stress, we do have pain, we have that anxiety or that external frustration coming from a conversation with a coworker or an email that just came into our inbox, we can say, okay, you know what? I'm going to step back, I'm going to reevaluate my posture and see then if that was a quick fix, that's all I needed, then I can power through, or if I need something else, we can talk about that too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So many a times you see people may watch this episode or read something else, read your book, and then they may get encouraged at that point in time, but later on they forget about it. As you rightly say, that they should think about this whole posture thing like their physical wealth, and think about a healthy diet, and just like 1 or 2 healthy meals a week doesn't make a healthy diet, show they're in the same way the physical health will not be. So help us understand how people can look at it in the same way. What is it that they will remember so that they can put their posture also in the same way as their healthy meals?
So I actually just had someone who messaged me last week. I think it was like Thursday or Friday of last week, where I teach these, on like social media and through my emails and stuff. I teach these like quick, like 3 minute stretches. And I sent out these two stretches that you can do in 3 to 5 minutes. And I had someone who messaged me and said, these are great and I feel great, but after I do them, but I'm not sure if I feel de-stressed. And I said, okay, well, that's because you have one part of the puzzle. You have the actual movement that you need to do. But like you're saying, if you're going to forget about this stuff, doing it once or eating one healthy meal a week is not going to change the way that you live or view what your body and your brain need to have a productive day. And so the goal here is not just to say, okay, I stretched this morning, I fixed my posture, I'm ready to go through my workday and I can get through. The goal is actually to say, and this is where the health interruptions come into play, is that, okay, I need to stay ahead of stress. And by staying ahead of stress means scheduling your workday so that you can consistently add these little health interruptions throughout your day so that one, you can be stress free and pain free, and that those two things are interconnected, and so we want to keep going through our day. But then also, if something does come in and your boss calls or they move up a deadline or something unexpected happens, that you can say, okay, I have the tools to step back, whether it's stretching, whether it's movement to energize, whether it's just walking around my room a couple of times. I know what I need to do to get my body back on track. And so those are the things to schedule your day. That's the key. So there's two pieces here. You do have to understand what posture and healthy movement and stretching looks like, but then to stay ahead of it is the other piece, is to really schedule it into your day. And it's much easier than you think. There are all of these kinds of thought processes behind how to actually be productive. Like there's the Pomodoro method. There's all of these things that say like you work for 20 minutes for 4 times and then you take a longer break and then you get back. No, like simplify your life. We want to make this as easy and as foolproof as possible. So what I teach very simply is the 50-10 ratio. So what I mean by that is 50. For every 50 minutes that you commit to sitting down or standing in your workspace, whatever it is, commit it to focused work, whatever that is, you spend 10 minutes moving, doing something else. And that could be, if you work at home, it could be something as simple as folding that load of laundry that's been sitting in the laundry basket forever. It could be prepping and only prepping dinner. It could be something as simple as walking up and down a flight of stairs if you're in an office building 4 times. Just something that gets you away from the screens, right? From looking at a blue screen for a long period of time and acknowledging that there is a world around you, because that's where the brain element comes in. And then to actually physically move. And you'll be amazed at how refreshed your whole body is because you took that 10 minutes. Now, in the US, we have a tendency to say, okay, I have to do the 50 minutes and I have to do the 10 minutes. You need to provide yourself grace. If you have a phone call that goes for 55 minutes and you can only move for 5 minutes, that's better than nothing. If you're starting to get really stressed and you have this email that comes in and you're like, oh my God, now I have 5 more things on my to-do list, stop. Go walk up and down the flight of stairs. Go to the bathroom, refill your water, do 10 squats, or you can march in place sitting. Like right now, I'm marching as I'm talking to you, and you can't tell, right? I'm not moving. These are healthy moves to get your body energized, to get your muscles moving, to get the brain-body connection flowing so you can be productive. But the goal here is to be consistent. So that schedule is definitely the key element in that movement.
Absolutely. There's much to learn from you about all these things, Alyssa, and I'm sure a lot of people can also learn from your book, The Ultimate Workplace Toolkit, Your Guide to Solving the Aches, Pains, and Productivity Problems of Your
And it's super small.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, can you show the book nicely, please?
Sure.
So that the audience can. Yes, this is the book. Wonderful.
And
now let's talk about this. Yeah, let's talk about this book. Who is this book for?
Any computer-based professional. So it's really for somebody who has to be in front of their technology for long periods of time. And it really does, it addresses both a sitting workspace, a standing workspace, interperson relationships, how to hold a walking meeting if you really want to get involved with your coworkers. There's in a day's schedule in here. So if you really want a framework, that someplace that you can start, there's an entire schedule. So if you work a 9 to 5 job, if you work from 5 to 9 a.m., overnight, however you want to do it, it teaches you how to work within the 50-10 ratio. And it gives you examples on how to really work, how to fit it all in. And then my personal favorite part, our hands, our eyes, and our feet work so hard for us all day long. And we don't often think that they have muscles that need to also be taken care of. And there's exercises for what I call the forgotten body parts in this book as well. So that's my personal favorite. Oh, and the way that we kicked this off when I was talking about how you need to get a workspace that fits you, not you fitting into your workspace, there is actually a diagram in here that shows you how to set up your workspace sitting or standing, so that way you can get that healthy kind of desktop setup to not only support your body, but also to make sure everything is in the right place. So a lot of times from talking to many people that sit at a computer all day long, something falls on the floor, they reach for it, and all of a sudden they got to pull in their side because they're sitting for too long. This actually will help you set up your workday so that you can best organize things, and it's all within your arm's reach.
Wonderful. There's so much to learn from you, Alessa, and so much to learn from your book. So for all those people who would want to learn from your book, how to get that book, how do they connect with you, how do they get the best from you with all the things that you do, even as a Pilates instructor and functional fitness public speaker?
I mean, the best place is to go to Amazon and grab the book. That's the best place to do it. That's the easiest way to get it and the fastest way it'll come to you, admittedly. And then it's just, you can either go to my website. Every week, I send out 1 email a week with a healthy move or stretch that you can do deck side. It's 3-minute read. Sometimes it's a little bit about me. Sometimes I try to make it a little bit more interesting than just here, do this thing. But that is right at the top of my website. You can go to jobuffit.com, and then you just put your email in right there, and it'll come to you weekly and help you desk side. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all social media at Alessa.Caridi, which is really easy. It's just my name in there. And I don't love social media, but I am there. So if you have a message, you're feel free to DM me. I'm most active on LinkedIn. But yeah, social media is another one of those stressors. So really, my goal is to create healthy work days for hardworking computer-based professionals. And if you have a problem, email me, send me a DM, reach out, because that's like what I said when the woman messaged me last week, and we had a conversation about the 2 pieces that you need, the workout part and then the scheduling part. So that's the goal here.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was